Hello guys, how are you? Our topic for today is about assurance information security. This is the part we were discussing last year. And we'll be using, of course, the hashlib. What is the hashlib? We'll check it right here. And then we will find out what is that hashlib of Python. So what is a hashlib? Okay, of Python. We will define it here. Hashlib is a module in Python, standard library that provides a suite of functions for hashing the data. So if we're talking about hashing, what is hashing? Okay, what is hashing of data? So hashing is simply passing of some data through a formula that produces a result called hash. Well, the hash is usually a string of characters and the hashes generated by a formula are always the same length regardless of how much data you feed into it. So we have to create a program that will hash the data, converting, of course, the plain data into a eclectic type of data. We'll be using the Python in this case. So this is now how we do it. We will use the import hashlib. Okay, this is now, of course, the module of Python wherein we need to hash the data. Well, hashlib has the following functions. Following methods to hash the data. So these are the methods that, of course, we'll be using. We have, of course, the example of MD5. This is to generate a message, right? And the other one is, well, we have also the SHA-1. This is part of the Python, method also to generate what the SHA-1 message, and we have also the SHA-HHA and what is that again? 224. Okay, and so on and so forth. But this time we'll be using the MD5 to generate a message. This message is a plain message coming from the end user, or maybe the input type of message that we'll be converting it later on to hash data. Okay, this is how it works. Now, in this case, well, of course, one of our target is to use the dictionary of Python, wherein we're going to create our own keys and, of course, values. That's a pairing of values wherein you're creating stateless type of data. So we'll start first with the dictionary. So what will be our algorithm here? Algorithm is to create a dictionary, at the same time to hash the table, to hash the data, and produce that data. So you can use this as far as your security applications is concerned. Maybe create a library for your programs, for your database, so you can use this. Now let us start here. Now let's say the first part is, of course, we need first to create a container for the dictionary. So in Python, we are using this symbol to create a dictionary. So this is where we pair the values of keys and values. Okay. Pairing of data using keys. Pairing of data using keys and values. Okay. Using keys and values. So what does it mean? Let us start right here and, of course, dive immediately to the code without further ado. Okay. So we'll create a variable right here. Let's say this is the variable dict data, and then we have then empty dictionary. So we don't have the dictionary, and we'll be asking the user to encode, of course, the keys and the values. These are the structure of your data, and later on we enter, of course, the key values and, of course, the values of values. So we're gonna ask the user here. Let's say, well, we have already hashlib. Later on, we're gonna use this to protect our data. So we have to enter a variable here. First, ask1 equals to str. Well, str because this is a string, and then we're gonna put here, of course, here. Let's say enter field structure. Okay. This is the field structure right now. Okay. Well, vice versa, we can interchange that later on. Okay. And then we have the field structures for interfield structure for the key. Okay. Then we copy this. All right, let's move forward. Let us change the variable here. And then what happened? We will enter field structure for the value. Okay, so we have now two input here. Oh, sorry, value. So we have to input right here. So the purpose of this is we're going to put here, of course, the key and the value. At the same time, the key value and, of course, the value of value. All right, so we have to use one. I1 equals to, let's say, this is another variable, okay, str, and then we have to put input, and then enter value for the key. Okay, we're just be creating our own field sets or a table, okay? So we have the I2 here in the str and input what? Input here, enter the value of value. So there you have it. Now what happened is, of course, we have four inputs right here. One for the keys and one for the values and one for the key value and one for the value. Can you get me? Now let us move right here. So we will use our dictionary to store the information. So how how we will do, what is the procedure for that. So data, and then we'll be using here, of course, enter field structure for the key. Therefore, we're gonna input here ast1 equals to what I1. Okay, please take down note. So this is the first input for the field structure, and we're gonna use again dic data, and then we put here ast2, and then we put here equals to I2. Now, what happened if we print this? Okay, let's move here. Let's say print, and then we have to use the print dict data. Now, when we run the program, okay, expect that, of course, we have 4 inputs. And the first part of the inputs, these 2 groups to import are the following. Interfield structure, okay, let's say we have here the username. Okay. Interfield structure for the value. So we have, of course, let's say, so far I have 4, okay? So let's say username, and we have here the code. For the username, all right, let us enter the value for the username. The key for the username is, of course, we'll say Arnold. And for the code, I will enter, okay, let us wait for computer 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you print a value, okay, what happened? A is not defined. Okay, let us check the spelling. So we have here ast1 instead of ast. Okay, we change this to ast2. Okay, let us run it again. All right, so we have here username, and then we have, of course, the code for Arnold for the username, and for the code, I have to put future 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, I have here the username. I'm sorry for the wrong spelling. We can later we can modify this. We have Arnold here. This is your key. This is the value for the structure, and this is the key for the value. This is the value for the value. Now, what if we will encrypt this? I mean, using the hashlib, and then this is like you're creating your smart contract, okay? Because we're talking about assurance, information security. This is the part of our discussion. What if you need to change, of course, the name of Arnold and 1, 2, 3, 4 as part of the hashing, hash data? How to do that? Okay, let us go right here. Remember, we have really import the hashlib, and we're gonna use the MD5 in this case. So we'll change only this line because it's part of the fields sets, and these are the values for the key and for the values. All right. So how to do that? We create another variable here, hash1 equals to, and then we're gonna apply here first the, okay, click check this one, hashlib that, and then this hashlib has its own methods. Remember, we have the SHA1, SHA256, and we have the MD5. We'll be using the MD5. Okay. Now, what's next is we're gonna bring down this input. Okay, we'll be using the I1, and then again, because this I1 is part of the string, we're gonna call, of course, the encode functions of the hashlib, and then remember we are using the exact grammar right here. Therefore, we're gonna use the period right here, and of course, use the hex digest. So what's the hex digest of Python? Okay, let us again go right here. What is the hex digest of Python? So what's the purpose of that? Okay. Later on, you will understand it. Why? But when you try to check to run the program, you can, understand how it works. Hex digest. The digest is returned as a string object of double length, containing only hexadecimals. Okay. So we're converting this to hexadecimals. In reverse, we can also use the digest, but this is quite complete. So we have the hex digest and post digest. Let's go back right here. So when we run the program, okay, but before we run the program, let us finish this first. Okay. We have to go right there, here, and then we change this to hash1 again, and then we're gonna use the I2, and then use the hex digest. After that, what will happen? Well, we will replace this with the hash1. This is hash2. Of course, it might crash. Of course, it might eclipse the first part of the variable. So we need to use a unique variable here. So we will use the hash2. All right. Now, what will happen next is we run the program. Okay, so when we run the program, look what will happen. So we have here username. Okay, we have, of course, the code. Let us enter my name, and of course the value. Now this is now the output. As you can see, of course, now don't worry about this thing. So this is now the hash that we convert, of course, a plain text into a hash data with fixed length of amount of the data using the hex digest. These are the objects that will be read and parsed by the hex digest using the MD5. So again, of course, you have to do to check my previous tutorial. Of course, that's these were the AIS1 and AIS2. This is now the AIS3. If you have questions, of course, you can drop down and, of course, email to me. And thank you so much for watching, and more power.